Good morning. This just had a quick game of chess here, and just wanted to go over this position and analyze the game. I ended up winning the game. However, this is the only mistake I made in the game. And I just want to show this because it brings back memories of my childhood chess days, second year of playing chess. The previous year, I had not even played a full year, but ended up being able to go to nationals. I had to go out on my bicycle and sell tons and tons of candy. My parents and family couldn't afford to send me, but I ended up selling enough candy to go. Ended up winning, total miracle. But I ended up winning my class or category, whatever it was, at nationals that year. Come home with a massive trophy. Nobody in the school had ever done that before, and it was just a complete miracle. God bless miracle. That I did win that. And the next year at nationals, though, a grandmaster by the name of Ben Feingold was going over people's games at nationals. Well, I submitted mine, and at that time, I was training. Nobody I knew even knew how to play chess, except for a few people in the school. We had a chess team, and Tom Childress from Pendleton, Indiana, he organized the chess club for quite a few years, and I ended up playing it. I was a football player and just heard an announcement and decided I wanted to learn how to play. I don't even know why. I just did. But anyhow, Ben Feingold was there. I submitted my game. At that time, I was fascinated. I used Apple computer. Apple IIe was the computer, and I used Chessmaster 2000 as the trainer and teacher. That's how I learned how to play chess, with a little floppy disk of Chessmaster 2000 way back in the day. Now, this is almost 40 years later. And I'm reminiscing about an event that happened, I don't remember the year, but at nationals, and I think it was in Atlanta, where I met Ben Feingold, and he was going over games, and I submitted mine. Well, I was playing the Saragossa, what's now called the Saragossa opening, but I was fascinated with his pawn c3 because it seemed like every game, it seemed like many games that I played would end up with this sort of pawn structure right here, or transfer into this, whether you're black or white. And so as just pattern recognition, I thought c3 would be some fancy good opening. Well, Ben Feingold disagreed. He hated it. But I got into a situation just like this in that game. And what I did was exactly what I did in this game. What I did then was and I lost that game. But I wanted to see what he thought about this opening and this position. And he basically told me I was an idiot and that you can't play chess like that. So here we are. That was like in the, I don't know, late 80s or something. I don't remember. But now here we are, like 40 years later. And 30 years later. And 30, I don't know, 35, whatever it is. But I'm in the same situation in this game. And I'm sorry to belabor the point, but the computer says that I am supposed to take that knight and go back to f3. Well, I've been playing a lot of chess since the 80s, and I'm more mature, and my pattern recognition has improved. And my knowledge of the game has improved. And I'm sorry, but back then, I was prescient of how I would be today. Maybe I time traveled somehow. I don't know. But instead, I play this. And so I'm going to go through a couple scenarios. Because I get a couple pawns for the knight. I get center control. My bishop gets to a great diagonal. The white bishop goes to a beautiful diagonal, and I'm moving, I'm advancing my position with an attack on the queen, basically a check on the queen, a check on the royal court. So the queen has to move, And this was my logic even back then as a kid. But now, in this lab on Lichess, this 2+1 lab that I play all the time, thousands and thousands of games, to learn more patterns and pattern recognition. But let's just watch. So let's see the outcome. Okay, now this is a line. This is not the computer line. It's not what happened in the game. That's a possible line, a possible move with the queen. And, well, the computer says that's a blunder if you don't take. Okay, but if you take, then I'm going to get 2 pawns for a knight with an attack on the royal court. So in the game, actually, whoops, that's not the actual game. In the game, we actually, oh yeah, it is. Oh no, this is the actual game. I'm sorry. This is the actual game. So we moved back. Then I moved here. He goes G5. So I gained a free pawn. He didn't want to do the exchange. He didn't want to give me the exchange for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't capture. So if I go back, which is what the computer suggested, this is the line the computer suggests. But look, in the computer line, it's supposedly perfect moves, I guess. You have this backward pawn on c3. That's awful. Definitely hate that kind of structure. I'm going to tell you that's not good. And I don't care what the computer says, but that's not good. That pawn is hard to defend. It's a constant problem. And then black just keeps advancing in his position. And if you're not a computer, you're going to lose. Okay, so that was the computer line it suggested. Well, this is the move that my opponent played. However, what if he played that move? Okay, well, there's bishop captures. And then you go into a line like this. If bishop captures, which I don't like that. What if knight captures? This is what I was thinking. You know, I'm flawed, but this is exactly what I was thinking back in the late 80s, which I ended up losing that against a higher rated opponent in a national tournament, national scholastic event. But I still ended up placing in the top 20, so that was pretty nice. But okay, so now I'm like, okay, what do you do? What do you do now? So with the knight move, you have to defend, so you're losing tempo. It's a loss of tempo. I get 2 pawns, and I get tempo. I get center control. So bishop here is you can debate that, because maybe this is better, and you start advancing these pawns on the light squares. But then at the end game, you got to try, if you don't get rid of the light square bishop, you have to try to put all your pawns on dark squares. And all my pawns are already on dark squares. So towards the end game, I feel like I'm getting an advantage. Okay. Queen captures knight, then bishop captures. And so we're going towards a rook for 2 pieces, but look at all the extra pawns I have. These are reasonable moves. So I, Ben Feingold, I don't know if he's alive or passed on. I don't remember how old he was back then, but so now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, well, Queen D2, Bishop G6. Because obviously you can't go b3 because then queen takes pawn. So that was an error in my own analysis there. So you have to go up queen d2 first, then bishop g6, then you can go b3, then queen a6, and now I'm looking at this position like, how come I didn't get in this position to win the game back in the late 80s? Then I probably would have been in the top like 5 or 6 instead of being in 20th, top 20. So And I don't understand Ben Feingold's point now, 30-some years later, because look at all the space I have. And I have 3 extra pawns. A rook and 3 pawns. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A rook and 3 pawns to 2 minor pieces. So you tell me, what's better? You know, maybe you're a grandmaster, maybe you're a club player, maybe you're a tournament player, maybe you're some kind of master. Who knows? You tell me what's best. Which position would you rather play? A position that you have a rook and 3 pawns against 2 minor pieces, or where you would have the tactical advantage of the forks with the knight, the skewers with the bishop and the queen. You know, maybe you would rather have that type of play versus pressing pawns and having the opportunity to get 3 queens. You know, you tell me in the comments. What do you think? What's the better way to play? According to Ben Feingold, going back to this move right here is a blunder. But this exact thing happened to me in nationals in the 80s, and his analysis has been a thorn in my side for decades. It's amazing how when you're competitive, you just remember everything, and when your ego gets crushed by your opponent in chess, you just remember everything. It's insane how the mind works. But yeah, you tell me. What do you think? So my opponent in the game, he decided not to even mess with the analysis and spend too much time on the analysis because it's a quick game. But yeah, so I had a few inaccurate moves, but to me, I'm getting ready to take this E pawn. I want this D and E. I want those 2 pawns right in the center. That just is a winning combo. 99 out of 100 times. As long as you play smartly, you're winning. This is all there is to it. Sometimes these inaccurate moves, though, I just don't get it. Like this knight move, because then he's going to capture D. What the heck? Okay, so whatever that spam call was. So there we go. Here's the game as it played out. And I just keep putting pressure on the queen. Try to maintain my space in the center. Yeah, I know. I just knew in advance. Now you're going to be like, oh, that looks terrible. But I knew this is like baiting him. It's a bait. I know he's going to take this pawn. I know he's going to take that knight. And then I know he's going to take the E pawn. I just knew before I even made that knight move. Before I made this move, I knew that was going to be what happened. And so I set it up. It's 100% bait. You know, a player's going to be like, okay, I got a pawn, and I'm going to be attacking the knight, but he forgets that he's getting pinned to the king. Yeah, that's humanity. I actually played a human for a change. It's pretty nice. Okay, so then we just keep moving on. I mean, the game is over. There's no hope because I have a queen and a rook versus a rook. A queen to a rook, I should say. And just no hope. He's pinned. He can't even move his knight. My pawn is just crushing. Oh, wow. Inaccurate. No, that should be a blunder. Because then you got this boom. Ouch. Oof. And then he does this. Silly. That's just silliness. It's silly. Yikes. Now you're just throwing the game away. And now it's academic. You know, nice little checkmate pattern here. If you don't know that checkmate pattern with the way the queen and the king are, that's a good pattern to get into to avoid stalemates. So anyway, yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. Knight takes pawn, you get 2 pawns, you get tempo, you get center control. You get your bishop on, you dominate with your light square bishop. And Is that an advantage or not? Oh my God. Was Ben Feingold correct in the late 80s? I mean, it probably was in the late 80s. Maybe things have changed since then. I don't know. Maybe theory has changed since then. You tell me in the comments. I mean, this is the question. How would you rather play this position? In accordance with the computer line, or in a more risky fashion, but with accoutrements? You let me know. Thanks.